Most people think the way to make an avoidant fall for you is to give more, prove yourself, show them, over and over, how good you'd be to them. Wrong. That's not how it works. What looks like generosity on your part doesn't land as generosity to them. What looks like winning isn't winning at all. Because the moment you stop performing for their approval, something shifts underneath the surface. Something they will never say out loud. Not to you, not to anyone. Sometimes not even to themselves. Here's what no one prepares you for. When the avoidant pulled away and watched you try harder, they weren't reading it as love. Research on avoidant attachment shows that overgiving and reassurance seeking actually trigger their deactivation response, the same internal mechanism that makes them feel safe enough to keep their distance. It confirms to them that they're allowed to stay distant, because someone else is doing all the emotional work for the both of you. They get the closeness without the risk, the connection without the vulnerability, the relationship running on your effort, while theirs stays parked in neutral. So the thing that finally reaches them isn't more effort. It isn't another late-night text or another attempt to explain how you feel. It's the absence of all that. And underneath that one shift, 7 things start happening inside them, whether they admit it or not. Truth number 1, your emotional steadiness hits harder than any gesture could have. They were ready for more texts, more check-ins, more proof that you were invested in keeping things alive. Their nervous system had a response prepared for all that, a script they'd run 100 times before with other people who came before you. What it didn't have a response for was someone who stayed warm without needing anything back. Steadiness from someone they expected to chase doesn't register as disinterest. It registers as a kind of safety they have never had earned, because usually safety is something they have to manufacture by keeping people at a careful, manageable distance. Truth number 2, they immediately start questioning what they thought they knew about you. You might assume the calm one feels secure watching you settle into yourself, that distance equals control, that the one who pulls back is always the one running the show. But the moment your usual pursuit doesn't arrive, that certainty cracks quietly, almost without them noticing it happening. They start replaying conversations, moments, the version of you they had quietly counted on needing them no matter what. Research on attachment theory shows avoidant individuals use predictable reactions from others to regulate their own internal state. Almost like an emotional thermostat, they don't realize they're relying on. Remove the predictable reaction, and you remove their regulation tool entirely. What replaces it is curiosity they don't know how to name, and don't particularly want to, and it builds from there. Truth number 3, the noticing becomes its own kind of pull. Every day you don't perform for them is a day their assumptions get a little less stable, a little less reliable than they were the day before. They start clocking small things they would have ignored a month ago. How you laugh without checking if they noticed. How your mood doesn't move when theirs does. How you stop narrating your feelings in their direction the way you used to. Avoidant individuals are not immune to attraction built on ease. They are simply practiced at not naming it, at filing it away somewhere they don't have to look at directly. But unnamed attraction still builds, slowly, underneath whatever story they're telling themselves about why they feel different around you lately. They might tell their friends it's nothing. They might tell themselves it's nothing too. But the body keeps noticing what the mind refuses to admit, and that gap between what they feel and what they'll say out loud is exactly where the pull keeps quietly growing. Truth number 4, a part of them wants to lean in, and they can't yet, not without a fight happening somewhere inside them first. They feel the pull to get closer, to test whether this version of you is real or only a phase you're going through. But leaning towards someone who isn't chasing means risking real exposure, the kind they've spent years avoiding. It means admitting, without saying it out loud, that they're the one who wants this now, that the power has quietly moved without their permission, for a nervous system wired to treat wanting as danger. That impulse gets paused the second it surfaces, pushed back down before it can turn into action. Truth number 5, your security makes you more attracted to them than your effort ever could. Even though every instinct they have tells them otherwise, effort is familiar. It fits the pattern they've built their whole relational history around. It keeps them in a role they understand, the one being wanted, the one deciding how close or far things get to stay. Security rewrites the roles entirely, and not gently. Suddenly you're the unpredictable variable, the one whose calm they can't trace back to a need for them specifically. Research on avoidant attachment finds that perceived emotional independence in a partner is one of the most consistent triggers for genuine pursuit in avoidant individuals, more consistent than almost anything else studied. You don't become more desirable by performing detachment as a strategy. You become more real because they see, maybe for the first time, that your calm was never theirs to manage or take credit for, that it existed independently of them long before they ever showed up. Truth number 6. They start rewriting the story, and you come out differently in it than you used to. The dynamic has shifted underneath them. The chase doesn't run the way it always has, the way it ran with everyone before you. So they process quietly, alone, usually late at night when nothing is distracting them from it. They reframe. They go back through the connection, asking questions they never let themselves ask before, not because they were afraid of the answers exactly, but because asking required a kind of honesty they hadn't practiced. They start noticing patterns they used to defend without thinking. The way they always had a reason to step back right when things were going well. The way every closeness eventually got managed down to something safer. The story where they were simply the calmer, more in control one starts competing with a different story. One where the real strength in the room was never theirs to begin with. And here is the one that changes everything. Truth number 7. What they start fearing isn't losing interest. It's realizing the interest was never theirs to control in the first place, that it belonged to you the whole time, and they were only ever borrowing it. Somewhere in watching you not need them the way they expected, they begin to want to be needed again, and the wanting surprises them more than anything else has in years. Not an imagined future pull, not some hypothetical regret. An actual present one, happening right now, in real time, with no way to talk themselves out of it no matter how hard they try. You don't announce it. You don't explain it. You simply stop performing the role of someone who could be kept on standby indefinitely, available whenever it's convenient, and invisible the rest of the time. And in doing so, you hand them the one thing their distance was always protecting them from feeling. The undeniable, inconvenient pull of wanting something they can no longer casually keep on the back burner, something they can no longer file away into the things they'll deal with eventually. Here's what matters most, especially if you're the one who finally chose steadiness over chasing. You didn't stop performing to manipulate them, and you should never let anyone convince you that boundaries are the same thing as games. You stop because something you finally understood, that proving your worth to someone who pulls away doesn't bring them closer. It only confirms that effort is expected, that performing works, that you'll always show up regardless of how little comes back to you in return. Your calm wasn't a strategy designed to win them back, and it wasn't ever meant to be a test you set up to see if they pass it. It was self-respect finally finding its footing after a long time of looking for it in the wrong places, in someone else's reactions instead of your own steadiness. So you have 2 choices in front of you now. You can stay in that steadiness and let it become the beginning of something different. Either a version of them who finally moves toward what they spent years avoiding, or a version of yourself who no longer needs them to in order to feel whole. Or you can watch what your calm already set in motion and recognize it for exactly what it is. Proof that you were never the one chasing too hard, never the problem this entire time. They were always the one worth being chased. They needed to feel, even once, what it's like to want something without being able to control it, to sit in that discomfort the way you sat in yours for so long. Both choices are valid, and neither one makes you wrong for choosing it, but only one gives you your life back. And that choice starts right now.